The council chamber floated in the darkness of space like a giant bubble made of light. Inside, thousands of aliens sat in their designated seats, waiting for the meeting to begin. Some had scales, others had fur, and some looked like they were made of living crystal. They came from hundreds of different worlds across the galaxy, and today they were all here for one reason: to decide if humanity could join their group. Ambassador ZH stood near the central platform. Her body was made of clear crystal that caught the light and threw rainbows across the room. She came from Lumine, a peaceful world where nothing dangerous had ever existed. The strongest predator on her planet was something like a rabbit. She had been chosen to present Earth's case because she was known for being fair and calm. Shkar looked at her datapad and felt uncomfortable. The information about Earth was strange, very strange. She had presented hundreds of new species to the Council over her long career, but she had never seen a file quite like this one. The doors at the far end of the chamber opened with a soft sound. The human delegation walked in. ZH watched them carefully. There were 5 humans total, led by someone called Ambassador Sarah Chun. The human woman walked with confident steps, her eyes taking in the massive chamber without any sign of fear or surprise. She wore simple clothes in dark blue, and her black hair was pulled back from her face. Other council members turned to stare at the humans. Some whispered to each other in their various languages. The humans looked so ordinary. 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes. They were similar to at least 30 other species in the room. Nothing about them seemed special or dangerous, but ZH had read the file. She knew better. Sarah Chun and her team reached their designated platform. It rose from the floor to meet the level of the other council members. Sarah stood at the front, her hands clasped behind her back, and waited. Council Speaker Morinth called the session to order. He was a tall being with gray skin and 4 eyes arranged around his head so he could see in all directions at once. His voice boomed through the chamber, translated instantly into every language present. We gather to consider the application of the species known as humans from the planet they call Earth for membership in the Galactic Council. Let the assessment begin. Shkar moved to the center platform. She activated her datapad, and the information appeared in the air above her, visible to everyone in the chamber. Honored council members, she began, her voice musical and clear. I present the species Homo sapiens from the 3rd planet of the star system they call Sol. They have achieved faster-than-light travel through the development of what they term a warp drive. Their technology level is sufficient for council membership. Their cultural assessment shows capacity for cooperation, art, science, and complex social structures. So far, everything was normal. Around the chamber, council members nodded or made their species equivalent gestures of approval. This was standard procedure. Most new species pass these basic requirements. Their population stands at approximately 8 billion individuals on their homeworld, with small colonies on 2 other bodies in their system. They have expressed strong desire for peaceful contact and cultural exchange. More nods, still normal. They have been broadcasting radio signals for approximately 200 of their years, and have been actively searching for other intelligent life. First contact was made 6 of their months ago when one of our survey ships encountered their exploration vessel near the edge of their system. Carr paused. Now came the part that made her uncomfortable. As per standard procedure, we conducted an environmental assessment of their homeworld to understand the evolutionary pressures that shaped their species. This helps us predict behavior patterns and biological needs. She gestured, and new information appeared in the air. Earth is located in what we would consider the optimal zone around its star. It has liquid water, a breathable atmosphere, and temperatures within acceptable ranges. Initial scans suggested it would classify as a Class 2 world, perhaps Class 3 at most. Around the chamber, aliens relaxed slightly. Class 2 worlds were common. They were safe places, easy to live on. Class 3 worlds had some challenges, but nothing serious. Most council species came from such worlds. However, Shkar continued, and her voice became uncertain, when the full survey was completed and processed through our standard classification system, some unusual readings appeared. I have asked Archivist Tolvin to present the official Deathworld classification, as is customary. She stepped back, grateful to let someone else handle this part. Archivist Tolvin moved to the platform. He was an amphibious being with 6 arms and skin that constantly shifted between blue and green. He carried the official records of every world in Council space. His job was to maintain the databases and present official information. Tolvin's 6 arms moved across his datapad with practiced efficiency. The Deathworld classification system was established 4,000 years ago to measure planetary hostility on a scale from 1 to 10. Class 1 worlds are completely safe, with no predators and minimal environmental dangers. Class 10 worlds are theoretical maximum hostility, where survival would be nearly impossible even for a short time. He pulled up a chart showing the distribution. Most Council species evolved on Class 1 or Class 2 worlds. 17 species come from Class 3 worlds. 3 species in all of galactic history have evolved on Class 5 worlds, and all 3 became feared warriors. No sapient life has ever evolved on anything rated Class 6 or higher. The chamber was quiet now. Every council member knew this information, but they understood that Tolvin was building toward something important. Earth's official classification, Tolvin said, and his voice became very formal, has been calculated by our automated systems using standard parameters. The rating is, he paused, his arms moving nervously. The rating is Class 12. For a moment there was complete silence. Then the chamber exploded into noise. Impossible, someone shouted. The scale only goes to 10. Another voice cried out. Recount, demand a recount. Those creatures cannot be from a Class 12 world. They would be monsters. Species began shouting in hundreds of different languages. Several smaller aliens fainted and had to be caught by their neighbors. Others activated personal shield devices, backing away from the human delegation as if they might attack at any moment. The Vrexian representative stood up, his massive form covered in thick armor-like skin. His species came from a Class 4 world and were considered among the toughest warriors in the galaxy. This is an error or a fraud. He roared. Nothing could survive a Class 12 environment. These humans must be criminals or war machines created by some enemy species. Through all the chaos, Sarah Chun stood quietly on her platform. She looked around the chamber with calm curiosity as if watching an interesting show. One of her team members leaned close and whispered something to her. She nodded and whispered back. Council Speaker Morinth tried to restore order, his voice booming over the noise. Silence. Silence in the chamber. It took several minutes for the chaos to die down. Species were still muttering to each other, casting frightened or suspicious looks at the humans. When it was finally quiet enough to speak, Sarah Chun raised her hand politely. Excuse me, she said, her voice clear and calm. Could someone explain what the problem is? We were told this was a standard assessment procedure. The entire chamber stared at her in disbelief. She genuinely did not understand why they were all so terrified. Ambassador Zhkar looked at Sarah Chun and felt a chill run through her crystalline body. The human woman seemed genuinely confused by the reaction. She did not understand why thousands of aliens were staring at her with fear and shock. That somehow made it worse. Council Speaker Moranth cleared his throat, which sounded like rocks grinding together. Ambassador Chun, he said carefully, choosing each word with precision. Perhaps we should explain the significance of the Deathworld classification system. Sarah nodded. That would be helpful, thank you. Moranth gestured to a display screen. A chart appeared showing different colored zones. The classification measures how dangerous a planet is to live on. It considers gravity, atmosphere, temperature ranges, geological activity, and the presence of dangerous life forms. Most importantly, it measures these factors relative to what is normal for sapient life to evolve. He pointed to the green zone at the bottom. Class 1 worlds are peaceful. Low gravity, stable weather, few or no predators. Class 2 worlds have some challenges, but nothing severe. By Class 3, we see significant predators, variable weather, and more difficult conditions. Sarah was listening carefully, her face showing interest but not concern. By Class 4, Morov continued. And his voice became more serious. We are talking about worlds that most species would consider hostile. High gravity, dangerous weather patterns, aggressive predators. Only the strongest species evolve there. He nodded toward the Vrexian representative. The Vrexians come from a Class 4 world. They are known throughout the galaxy as fierce warriors because their homeworld made them that way. The Vrexian, whose name was Crowvin, stood a bit straighter, proud of his species' reputation. Class 5 worlds, Moranth said, have only produced 3 sapient species in all of recorded galactic history. These worlds are extreme. The species that survive them are incredibly tough and dangerous. We have deep respect for Class 5 species and also healthy fear. He paused and looked directly at Sarah. Class 6 through 10 are theoretical. We have never found sapient life on such worlds because we believe it is impossible to evolve intelligence in such extreme conditions. All resources must go to basic survival, leaving nothing for developing complex thought. The chamber was completely silent now. Everyone was watching Sarah's reaction. And yet, Morinth said slowly, Earth is rated Class 12, 2 full levels beyond what we thought was the theoretical maximum for survival at all. Sarah frowned slightly. I see, and this classification was done by automated systems. Yes, Archivist Tolvin said, his 6 arms clutching his datapad tightly. Our survey drones collected data over several weeks. The automated analysis system compared Earth to the database of all known worlds. The system has been used for thousands of years and has never made an error. Could you tell us? Sarah asked calmly. What specific factors gave Earth such a high rating? Tolvin's arms moved across his datapad. Information began appearing on screens throughout the chamber. Your planet's gravity is 1.3 times galactic standard. Most species would be slowly crushed living there. Our bones would break, our organs would fail. Sarah nodded slowly. That does sound difficult for others, yes. Your atmospheric oxygen content is 21%, Tolvin continued. Galactic standard is 14%. Your air would be toxic to most species here. It would damage our lungs and cause organ failure within days. Oh, Sarah said. We actually had to adjust the oxygen levels in our ship before we met your survey team. We noticed your species seemed to prefer thinner air. The casual way she said this made several council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. Tolvin kept reading. Your planet experiences extreme temperature variations. From -40 degrees to +50 degrees Celsius in different regions, and often varying by 30 degrees in a single location across one day-night cycle. Well, yes, Sarah agreed. That's why we invented clothing and shelters. Your planet has active tectonic plates that cause earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Your weather systems generate storms with winds that can destroy structures. You have massive rotating storm systems called hurricanes and tornadoes that can level entire settlements. Sarah tilted her head. Those are relatively rare in most areas, and we've learned to predict them fairly well. Ishkar spoke up, her voice tight. Ambassador Chun, the survey drones catalog the life forms on your planet. Your world has millions of species, many of them dangerous. Predators with claws and teeth that can tear through flesh. Venomous creatures whose toxins can kill in minutes. Parasites that invade the body. Diseases caused by microscopic organisms. That does sound bad when you list it all at once, Sarah admitted. She looked at her team members, and Zaj Kar saw something pass between them. The humans were trying not to smile. They thought this was funny. Crow single quote Vaughn, the Vrexian warrior, stood up again. His species was known for being direct and aggressive. I do not believe this rating, he announced loudly. My world is Class 4, and we Vrexians are the toughest species in the Council. If your world is truly Class 12, then you should be monsters. Super predators. War machines. But you look weak. Soft skin, small teeth, no natural armor or weapons. I think there is an error, or you are lying. Sarah looked at him with those calm eyes. We do have soft skin, she agreed. and we're not very big or strong compared to some Earth species. But we survived anyway. Impossible, Crowven said flatly. One of Sarah's team members, a man with brown skin and gray hair, leaned forward. Ambassador Chung, perhaps a demonstration would help. Sarah considered this. That might be useful, yes. She turned to Speaker Morinth. Does the Council have any standard physical assessments? Something you use to evaluate species capabilities? Morinth's four eyes blinked in sequence. We have endurance tests for military species. Physical challenges to measure strength, stamina, and survival skills. Would it be appropriate for me to attempt these tests? Sarah asked. To prove that humans are capable despite coming from a harsh world? Shakar felt alarm rush through her. Ambassador Chun, those tests are designed for warrior species? They are dangerous. You could be injured or killed. Sarah smiled slightly. I appreciate your concern, but if it would help the Council understand humans better, I'm willing to try. Crowven made a sound like a laugh. I volunteer my champion Gerthuk to participate alongside the human. He has never been defeated in the Council's physical tests. We will see the truth of these claims. Morinth looked uncertain. This is highly irregular, but not forbidden, Crowven said. If the human wishes to demonstrate her species' capabilities, let her try. When she fails, we will know the classification system has made an error. Sarah turned to face the Vrexian fully. She was much smaller than him, barely reaching his chest even though he was sitting down. But she showed no fear. I accept. When would you like to conduct these tests? Immediately, Crowven said. My champion is on the station? The testing facility is available. Morinth looked around the chamber. Other council members were whispering amongst themselves. Finally, he made a decision. Very well. If both parties agree, we will conduct the standard military assessment tests. The council will observe. This session is temporarily adjourned and will reconvene at the testing facility in 1 standard hour. As the council members began to leave the chamber, Shakar approached Sarah. Ambassador Chung, she said quietly, you do not have to do this. These tests are truly dangerous. They were designed for species much larger and stronger than you appear to be. Sarah looked at her with kind eyes. I understand you're worried. But humans are used to being underestimated. We're used to people looking at us and thinking we're weak. She glanced toward where Crowven was leaving with his group. The truth is, Earth made us strong in ways that aren't always visible. We'll be fine. Shakar wanted to argue more, but something in Sarah's tone stopped her. The human woman was not boasting or trying to sound tough. She was simply stating a fact, the way one might say the sky is blue or water is wet. For the first time, Shakar began to wonder if the Class 12 rating might actually be correct, and if it was, what exactly had they invited into the galaxy? The testing facility was built into the lower levels of the council station. It was a massive space with adjustable environments, obstacle courses, and equipment designed to challenge even the toughest species. Thousands of council members crowded into the observation galleries above. Looking down at the arena floor below, Dotsidea Kar stood in the front row of the gallery, her crystalline body rigid with tension. She had tried several more times to convince Sarah Chun to reconsider, but the human woman had politely refused. Now Ziakar could only watch and hope the human would not be seriously hurt. On the arena floor, 2 figures stood waiting. On one side was Gerthak, the Vrexian champion. He was even larger than Crowven, nearly 3 meters tall and covered in thick armor-like skin. His muscles bulged beneath his hide, and his arms were as thick as tree trunks. He had competed in these tests dozens of times and had never lost. He looked like he was carved from stone and built for war. On the other side stood Sarah Chun. She had changed into simpler clothing, what she called athletic wear. It was form-fitting and made of some synthetic material. Next to Gerthak, she looked impossibly small and fragile. She was barely half his height. Her arms looked thin, her body looked soft. She had no claws, no fangs, no armor. The test administrator, a thin insectoid creature named Clichter, stood between them. The standard assessment consists of 3 parts: Clichter announced, his voice translated through speakers. Endurance, strength, and survival. Participants may withdraw at any time. Lethal force is prohibited, but injuries are expected. Medical teams stand ready. Gerthuk grunted. He was stretching his massive arms, clearly not worried. Sarah was doing her own stretches, touching her toes and rotating her shoulders. To Ziakar's surprise, she seemed relaxed, almost casual. The first test is endurance, Clichter said. You will run the obstacle course wearing gravity weights. The course is 5 kilometers long with various obstacles. Standard gravity for this test is set at galactic average 0.8 times Earth gravity. Excuse me, Sarah said, raising her hand. Could we set the gravity to Earth standard instead? 1.3 times galactic average? The observation gallery erupted in noise. Setting it to Earth gravity meant Sarah would be comfortable, but Gerthuk would be suffering under gravity much higher than his homeworld. Crowven stood up in the gallery. Trying to gain an unfair advantage, human? Sarah looked up at him. No, just asking for the same conditions I'm used to. But if you prefer galactic standard, that's fine too. I just want to make sure the test is fair. There was something in the way she said it that made Ziakar's crystal heart skip. Sarah was not trying to gain an advantage. She genuinely thought she would perform better in the higher gravity because that was normal for her. Gerthuk laughed, a sound like rocks falling. Set it to Earth gravity. I will still win easily, and no one can say I had any advantage. Clichter adjusted the controls. The gravity generators hummed to life. Keshkar immediately felt the change. The pull of gravity increased, pressing down on her. Around the gallery, other observers groaned or adjusted their position. It felt like wearing a heavy weight. On the floor, Gerthuk's legs buckled slightly before he caught himself. His face showed strain. The extra gravity was affecting him significantly. Sarah stood exactly as she had before. No change in posture, no sign of discomfort. This was normal for her. Begin, Clichter said, and an alarm sounded. Both competitors took off running toward the obstacle course. Gerthuk pushed himself hard, his powerful legs driving him forward despite the heavy gravity. He was fast for his size, faster than most species. Sarah moved differently. Her stride was smooth and efficient. She was not as fast as Gerthuk at first, but she maintained a steady pace. When they reached the first obstacle, a wall to climb, Gerthuk went over it with brute strength. Hauling his massive body up by pure muscle power. Sarah simply ran up it, using handholds and momentum. Flowing over the top like water. The second obstacle was a rope swing across a pit. Gerthuk's weight made the rope sag dangerously, and he barely made it across. Landing hard on the other side, Sarah's lighter body swung across easily, and she landed in a smooth roll that brought her back to her feet without stopping. By the third obstacle, Gerthuk was breathing hard. The high gravity was taking its toll. His movements were slower, more labored. Sarah's breathing was steady. Her face showed concentration but not distress. The course continued. Balance beams, climbing nets, crawling tunnels, jumping gaps. Each obstacle challenged different aspects of physical ability. Gerthuk pushed through them with determination and strength, but the high gravity was wearing him down. His powerful muscles were burning through energy trying to move his massive body in the heavy field. Sarah moved through each obstacle with a grace that looked almost easy. Her smaller body required less energy to move. Her muscles, developed under Earth's natural gravity, found this environment perfectly normal. By the 4th kilometer, Gerthuk was struggling. His breath came in gasps. His movements were clumsy. Sarah was still running at the same steady pace she had started with. Her breathing was faster now, but still controlled. She was sweating, but so had she when she started. When they reached the final kilometer, Gerthuk stumbled. He caught himself and kept going, but his pride was clearly pushing him beyond what his body wanted to do. Sarah passed him. The observation gallery was silent. Watching in disbelief, Sarah crossed the finish line first. She slowed to a walk, hands on her hips, breathing deeply but steadily. She looked tired, but fine. Gerthuk crossed the finish line 2 full minutes later and immediately collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. Medical teams rushed to check on him. Winner of the endurance test, Ambassador Chun of Earth, Clicker announced, his voice showing his own shock. In the gallery, no one spoke. They just stared. Sarah walked over to where Gerthik was being examined. "Are you all right?" she asked with genuine concern. Gerthik looked up at her, his eyes showing confusion and respect. "How?" he managed to gasp out. "You are so small. How did you do that?" Sarah offered him a hand to help him up. He stared at it for a moment, then took it. She could not actually lift his massive weight, but she helped steady him as he got to his feet. "On Earth," she said, "we have a saying. It's not the size of the person in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the person. My world taught me to keep going no matter what." The second test was strength. Various weights and resistance machines were used to measure raw power. Gerthik recovered somewhat, did well here. His massive muscles could move impressive loads, but Sarah surprised everyone again. Her smaller frame hid muscles that were dense and powerful, developed under Earth's high gravity. She could not move as much weight as Gerthik, but she moved far more than any being her size should be able to. Species in the gallery compared her lift capacity to their own databases and found she was stronger pound for pound than almost any species on record. The third test was survival. Both competitors were placed in separate sealed environments designed to simulate a Class 3 world. Toxic air, dangerous predators, limited resources. They had to survive for 6 hours. The observers could watch through screens as both competitors worked. Gerthik found shelter quickly and defended his position. When a predator approached, he fought it off with his strength. He found water and food where the test designers had hidden it. He survived well, exactly as expected for a Class 4 species, but Sarah did something different. First, she examined the environment carefully, studying the plants and creatures. Then she began to work. She used rocks to make tools. She built a trap and caught one of the predator creatures instead of fighting it. She examined plants and determined which were safe to eat. She found a water source and used materials to filter it. By the 3-hour mark, she had built a shelter, established a food source, and created a safe perimeter. She was not just surviving. She was thriving. "This is what Class 12 means," Zikar whispered to herself in the gallery. "They don't just survive their world. They master it." When the 6 hours were up and both competitors were released, Gerthik walked out tired but satisfied with his performance. Sarah walked out carrying tools she had made, samples of plants she had identified, and information about the environment that would be useful for others. She had turned a survival test into an opportunity to learn and prepare for the future. Clicker stood before both of them. "In the history of these tests," he said slowly, "no one has ever defeated a Vrexian champion in all 3 categories. Until today." The observation gallery was completely silent, then slowly one being started to clap. Then another. And another. Soon the entire gallery was applauding. A thunderous sound of respect and awe. Gerthik bowed to Sarah, the ultimate sign of respect from a warrior. "You honor the arena," he said formally. "Your species is truly formidable." Sarah bowed back. "You're a worthy competitor. Thank you for pushing me to try my best." As they walked off the arena floor, Zikar heard someone nearby whisper, "She said she was out of shape." Another voice responded, "And she's a diplomat, not a soldier." The realization spread through the gallery like a wave. If this was what an out-of-shape human civilian could do, what were their actual warriors capable of? The council chamber reconvened 6 hours later. The mood had completely changed. Before the tests, there had been fear and suspicion. Now there was something worse, terrified curiosity. Everyone wanted to understand what humanity really was, but they were afraid of what they might learn. Council Speaker Moranth called the session to order. His 4 eyes looked tired. "The physical assessment has been completed. The results are in the record. But I believe the Council now has questions for Ambassador Chun before we proceed to a vote on Earth's membership." Sarah stood calmly at her platform. If she was tired from the tests, she did not show it. Her team stood behind her, all looking equally composed. A council member from a species called the quill stood up. They were small, fuzzy creatures with large eyes from a Class 1 world. Ambassador Chun, they said in a high, nervous voice, we have accessed your planet's databases as part of the standard information exchange. What we found disturbs us greatly. Sarah nodded. What troubles you specifically? Your history, the quill said. Your species has been in constant conflict with itself. Wars, thousands of wars. You have created weapons specifically designed to kill your own kind. Chemical weapons, biological weapons, nuclear weapons that can destroy entire cities. You have fought each other continuously for your entire recorded history. Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. This was clearly something many council members had discovered. That is true, Sarah admitted. Humans have fought many wars against each other. It's not something we're proud of, but how can we trust you? Another voice called out. It was Illuminar, one of Zkar's own species. If you fight amongst yourselves so readily, what will you do to us? Sarah was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. Our history of conflict taught us some hard lessons. Yes, we fought. Yes, we created terrible weapons. But each time, we also learned. We created laws to limit warfare. We established rules about treating prisoners and protecting civilians. We built international organizations to prevent conflicts before they started. She looked around the chamber. We're not perfect. We still have disagreements and conflicts. But we haven't used nuclear weapons against each other in over 200 years, not since we learned what they could do. We've had the capability to destroy our entire world many times over, but we chose not to. That choice, made every single day, is also part of our history. Archivist Tolvan's 6 arms moved across his datapad. I have been reviewing Earth's historical records in more detail. Ambassador Chun is correct about the progression. But there is something else I found concerning. He projected images into the air above the chamber. These are what humans call contingency plans. Military documents about hypothetical scenarios. The images showed documents with titles, like Zombie Apocalypse Response, Plan and First Contact Military Protocols, and Rogue AI Containment Procedures. You have plans for fighting everything, Tolvan said, and his voice carried a mix of awe and horror. You have strategies for combating alien invasions, for fighting artificial intelligence if it turns against you, for surviving if your son dies, for fighting gods if they turn out to be real and hostile. Sarah actually smiled slightly at that. We have a saying on Earth, hope for the best, plan for the worst. Yes, our military and scientific organizations create contingency plans for unlikely scenarios. It's an intellectual exercise that helps us prepare for real emergencies by thinking through impossible ones. But who thinks like this? Kralvin asked. Even the Vrexian warrior sounded disturbed. What kind of species assumes everything might try to kill them and prepares accordingly? A species from a Class 12 world, Sarah answered simply. On Earth, things can kill you in countless ways. Storms, earthquakes, diseases, predators, poisonous plants, toxic water, extreme temperatures, and yes, sometimes other humans. We learn to prepare for danger because danger is always present. It became part of how we think. Shkar raised her hand to speak. Ambassador Shun, I've been studying your planet's biology more closely. The diversity of life on Earth is extraordinary, but also terrifying. Can you explain some things to help us understand? I'll try, Sarah said. Shkar projected an image. This is what you call a mosquito, a tiny flying insect. According to your records, mosquitoes kill more humans every year than any other creature on Earth by spreading diseases. How do you live knowing that something so small is so deadly? We invented medicine to fight the diseases, Sarah said. And we developed chemicals and strategies to control mosquito populations. We adapted. Another image appeared. This is called a box jellyfish. Its venom can kill a human in minutes. It lives in your oceans. We learned where they live and we avoid those areas. Or we wear protective clothing, Sarah replied. More images came rapidly. each one showing a different danger from Earth. This is called a polar bear. It can smell prey from kilometers away and has no natural predators. This is a saltwater crocodile. It can wait motionless for hours and then strike with incredible speed. This is a black mamba snake. One of the fastest, most venomous snakes on your world. These are bullet ants. Their sting is said to feel like being shot. This is called the Sydney funnel web spider. Its venom is specifically effective against primates like yourselves. For each one, Sarah calmly explained how humans had learned to coexist with or avoid these creatures. Her tone never changed from patient and informative. Finally, Zakar showed one more image. "And this," she said quietly, "is what you call a dog?" The image showed a medium-sized creature with fur, 4 legs, and very impressive teeth. "According to your records," Zakar continued, "dogs are descended from wolves, which are apex predators. Yet you keep them in your homes. You let them near your children. You call them your friends. How?" Sarah's face softened and she smiled. "Dogs were the first species we domesticated about 30,000 years ago. We formed a partnership with them. They helped us hunt and protected our settlements. We gave them food and shelter. Over thousands of generations we changed together. They evolved to understand our emotions and work with us. We evolved to bond with them. Now they're part of our families." "You domesticated predators," someone whispered in the gallery, making it sound like an accusation. "We did," Sarah confirmed. "Dogs, cats, horses, cattle, pigs, chickens. We learned that working together was better than competing. The same way we hope to work with all of you." A new council member spoke up, a tall being made of what looked like living metal. "I have reviewed Earth's entertainment media, your fiction and films. I must ask, why do humans actively seek out fear for entertainment?" Sarah looked confused. "What do you mean?" "You have an entire genre called horror. You create stories designed to frighten yourselves. You watch them voluntarily. You have activities called extreme sports, where you put yourselves in danger for enjoyment. Jumping from aircraft, climbing mountains, diving into deep water with predators. Why would any sane being do this?" Sarah thought about it. "I suppose it's because we evolved in a dangerous environment. We learned that facing fears makes us stronger. Controlled danger, where we can challenge ourselves safely, helps us prepare for real danger. It builds confidence and skills. Your world made you seek out challenge and danger as entertainment," the metal being said slowly. "This is perhaps the most alien thing about you." Tolvin spoke again. "I have found something else. Ambassador Chun, what can you tell us about something called Australian wildlife?" Sarah actually laughed, and so did her team members behind her. "Australia is a large island continent on Earth. It's known for having particularly dangerous wildlife. Many venomous creatures, aggressive animals, and harsh environments. And yet millions of humans live there. Yes, they've adapted to it. They call it the land down under and make jokes about how dangerous it is," Tolvin said, sounding baffled. "They live there anyway and consider it normal." Shikar spoke up again. "This is what we are struggling to understand. Ambassador Chun, every species here evolved on a world that gave them challenges, yes. But Earth did not just challenge you. It tried to kill you in every possible way. And you did not just survive. You conquered it. You spread to every environment, from frozen poles to hot deserts to high mountains. You crossed your oceans in primitive boats. You climbed your highest peaks. You explored your deepest caves. You acted as if nothing could stop you. Because we refused to let it stop us," Sarah said quietly. "Yes, Earth is dangerous, but it's also beautiful. It's our home. We love it even though it's harsh. Maybe because it's harsh, it made us what we are." Council Speaker Morinth stood up. "I think," he said slowly, "we need to understand what humans are truly capable of in warfare. Not because we expect conflict, but because we need to know the truth. Ambassador Chun, would you share your military capabilities with us?" Sarah glanced at her team. One of them, a military officer, stepped forward. He was an older man with short gray hair and scars on his face. His name tag read General Martinez. "I can provide that information," Martinez said. His voice was calm and professional. "But I should warn you, many species find our military doctrine disturbing." "Tell us anyway," Moranth said. Martinez pulled up information on his datapad. "Humans have been fighting each other for roughly 10,000 years. The council adjourned for deliberation. It was unprecedented for a membership vote to take so long, but no one wanted to rush this decision. Species gathered in small groups throughout the station, debating intensely. Some wanted humanity rejected immediately, viewing them as too dangerous to allow into galactic society. Others saw opportunity. A few saw something else entirely. Shkar found herself in a quiet observation lounge, looking out at the stars. She was trying to process everything she had learned. Her world had never known violence or hardship. The worst thing that happened on Lumine was an occasional storm that knocked down trees. Now she had met a species that had fought its way to the top of a planetary food chain that would have killed her species in days. "Mind if I join you?" Shikar turned to see Sarah Chun standing nearby, holding a cup of what humans called coffee. The human woman looked tired but peaceful. "Please," Shikar said, gesturing to the space beside her. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the stars. "Do you think we'll be accepted?" Sarah asked quietly. "I don't know," Shikar admitted. "Many are afraid of you. Some think you'll turn violent. Others think you'll outcompete us in everything because you're naturally stronger and tougher." Sarah sipped her coffee. "That's fair, I suppose. We are pretty intense compared to most species we've met here." "May I ask you something personal?" Shkar asked. "Of course. Do you ever wish you came from an easier world? A peaceful place like mine where nothing tried to kill you?" Sarah thought about it for a long time. "Sometimes," she finally said, "when I read about the suffering Earth has caused its people. The diseases, the disasters, the way we had to struggle for everything. Yes, sometimes I wish it had been easier." She looked at Shikar with those steady eyes. "But then I think about what we gained. The determination to keep going no matter what. The creativity to solve impossible problems. The ability to face fear and not let it stop us. The bonds we formed with each other because we needed to work together to survive. Earth was harsh, but it made us who we are. I wouldn't trade that, even knowing how it frightens others." "We'll adapt," Sarah said with a slight smile. "That's what we do best. We'll learn to be less scary. We'll prove we're trustworthy. It might take time, but humans are patient when we need to be." Before Shikar could respond, an announcement echoed through the station. The council was reconvening for the vote. The chamber filled quickly. The tension was almost physical. Thousands of beings waited to hear what would be decided. Council Speaker Moranth stood at the center. "The vote on Earth's membership has been extensively debated. We will now proceed with the formal voting process. Each council member may vote yes for acceptance, no for rejection, or abstain. The decision requires a 2/3 majority to pass." The voting began. It was done silently through each delegate's datapad, the results hidden until all votes were cast. Shar voted yes. She had made her decision during the deliberation. Yes, humans were frightening. Yes, they came from a world that should have been impossible. But they had also shown honor, restraint, and a genuine desire for peace. They could have demanded membership based on strength, but instead they had asked politely and accepted judgment. The voting lasted 15 minutes. Finally, Moranth reviewed the results on his own datapad. His expression was unreadable. "The votes have been counted," he announced. For acceptance, 4,312. For rejection, 2,108. Abstentions, 543. He paused, letting the numbers sink in. By a vote of 62% in favor, which exceeds the required 2/3 majority after accounting for abstentions, humanity is accepted as a member species of the Galactic Council. The chamber erupted in noise. Some cheered, some protested, some simply looked stunned. Sarah stood quietly, her face showing relief and joy. Her team behind her smiled and embraced each other. Morinth raised his hands for silence. However, he said loudly, and the noise died down. The Council has agreed upon certain conditions for Earth's membership. Sarah's expression became more serious. We're listening. First, Morinth said, humans must share their medical and survival knowledge with the Council. Your understanding of hostile biology, disease prevention, and environmental adaptation could save countless lives throughout the galaxy. Sarah nodded. We'd be happy to share that knowledge. Second, humans will be asked to assist with exploration and salvage operations in hazardous environments. There are regions of space too dangerous for most species to enter, but which humans could potentially survive. We'd be honored to help. Third, and Morinth's voice became firmer, humans must participate in cultural exchange programs. We need our citizens to understand you are not monsters. You must help teach the galaxy that strength and danger do not equal hostility. We understand, Sarah said. We'll send teachers, artists, scientists, anyone who can help build bridges between our species and yours. Kralvin stood up. I have a proposal, the Vrexian warrior said. Let the humans send military observers to train with the Council Defense Forces. Let them teach us their tactics and learn ours. If we are to trust them, we should understand how they fight. And perhaps, he added with something like respect, we could learn from them. Morinth considered this. Ambassador Chun? That seems reasonable, Sarah said. We'd welcome military exchanges. Understanding each other's capabilities would build trust. Then it is agreed, Morinth said. Welcome to the Galactic Council, humanity. May your strength protect the weak, your determination inspire the discouraged, and your adaptability help us all face the challenges ahead. The chamber applauded, and this time it was genuine. Not everyone was happy with the decision, but the majority had spoken as the session ended and delegates began to leave. A small figure approached the human delegation. Shikar recognized them as a member of the Pip species, tiny beings from a Class 2 world. This particular Pip looked nervous and afraid. Excuse me, the Pip said in a small voice. Ambassador Chun? Sarah knelt down to be closer to the Pip's eye level. Yes, how can I help you? My name is Trilip. I represent a Pip colony on a moon called Frostfor. It's a Class 4 environment. Very cold, with dangerous ice storms and predatory creatures. We established the colony 30 years ago because we needed the rare minerals there. But it's been difficult. We've lost many people. The environment is too harsh for us. Sarah's expression became concerned. I'm sorry to hear that. What kind of help do you need? We've tried everything we know to make the colony safer, Trilip said, and their voice was shaking. But we're not strong enough. We're not tough enough. We thought maybe... They looked up at Sarah with desperate hope. Could humans help us? Could you teach us how to survive on a harsh world? Sarah was quiet for a moment, then she smiled gently. Yes, we can help. That's exactly the kind of thing we're good at. We'll send a team to assess the situation and work with you to make your colony safer. Trilip's entire body seemed to sag with relief. Thank you. Thank you so much. We were starting to think we'd have to abandon it. You won't have to abandon it, Sarah said firmly. Harsh environments are our specialty. We'll figure it out together. As Trilip hurried away, looking much happier, General Martinez stepped up beside Sarah. That's going to be our role in the galaxy, isn't it? He said quietly. The ones who go to the dangerous places. The ones who help when the environment is too harsh for others. Sarah stood up, watching Trilip disappear into the crowd. There are worse roles to have. Earth made us tough so we could survive. Now we can use that toughness to help others survive too. Ziakar approached them. That was kind of you? The Pip have been struggling with that colony for years. No one else has been able to help them. Then it's good we showed up when we did, Sarah said. She looked at Ziakar with warm eyes. Thank you for voting for us. I could tell you were uncertain, but you gave us a chance anyway. I was uncertain, Ziakar admitted. I'm still a little frightened of what you represent, but I'm also hopeful. The galaxy has many challenges. Perhaps we needed someone from a Class 12 world to help us face them. Over the following weeks, humans began integrating into galactic society. It was not always smooth. There were incidents where humans accidentally injured others by forgetting to control their strength. There were cultural misunderstandings. Some species remained deeply suspicious, but there were also successes. The human medical teams shared knowledge that revolutionized treatment for dozens of diseases. Their understanding of biology helped develop vaccines and cures that had eluded galactic science for centuries. Human engineers arrived at Frost 4 and within 6 months had transformed the failing Pip colony into a thriving settlement. They built shelters that could withstand the ice storms, established early warning systems for predators, and taught the Pip how to move and work safely in the harsh environment. Human explorers volunteered for missions into the Shrouded Nebula, a region of space so dangerous that 7 previous expeditions had been lost. They came back with valuable data and all crew members alive, having treated the lethal environment as merely challenging. Perhaps most importantly, human artists and teachers spread throughout Council space. They shared stories of Earth, showing both its beauty and its harshness.